Hi, and welcome to Heil Ham Day. I'm Ash Levitt, Head of Research and Business Development at Heil Sound. Thanks for joining us today. I know many of you are disappointed there won't be a Dayton Hamvention this year, so hopefully some online events like this will help fill that gap. Today we're going to have some special segments, the first of which is with Donna McIntyre, our service manager at Heil Sound. Donna has been a long-standing member of the Heil team, and many of you have spoken with her over the years either via phone or email. She's going to talk about some frequently asked questions that we get related to service issues and product information. Next, we're going to go to Bob Heil at his personal ham shack at home. He's going to talk about some very important fundamental ham radio concepts that every operator needs to know. Finally, we want to let you know about a special sale we're running in our web store. Go to heilhamradio.com/shop and use the code HeilHamDay. That's Heil Ham Day, one word, to receive 10% off your entire order. Also, we'll be running some special promos on specific products. So again, go to heilhamradio.com/shop and use the code HeilHamDay. That link and that code will be in the comment section below, along with any other links that we refer to throughout these videos. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope that this is a fun and enjoyable experience for you and that you have some more information on how the Heil Ham Radio operations work. Thank you very much for your support in your business. And I have with me today Donna McIntyre, who's our service manager. Say hi, Donna.
Hi.
Many of you have talked with Donna previously, either via email or through the phone. Some of you have had very long conversations with Donna about related service issues, product information, things like that. So we wanted to have a little bit of a Q&A today to go through some of the questions that are commonly asked of Donna, things that some of you might know about, but some of you might not know about. And so all these things are designed to shed some light on some of the common issues that come up and things that might be able to help save you a trip for either calling Donna or sending in an email. First of all, with the current ongoing COVID-19 situation, I just wanted to say thank you very much for your patience and understanding during this time. We are operating, however, we're doing it minimally and we're doing it very carefully to try to ensure the safety and health of our employees. Donna is still answering service emails, she's answering service calls. However, if you have some of those, there might be a delay in responding. She's working through quite a backlog of all those things. So thank you again for your patience and your understanding. On that note, if you do have any technical questions, please email info@heilsound.com. If you have any service-related questions, please email service@heilsound.com. A lot of times we get both technical questions and service questions sent into our social media accounts, such as Facebook and Instagram. That will only slow down the process for you because it'll take time for somebody to then forward the emails to the right people. So again, technical questions, please send those to info@heilsound.com, and service questions, please send those to service@heilsound.com. That will help speed up the process and get you your answer as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into some of these questions. Again, these are all very commonly asked questions that we get. Some of the information for some of these questions is found on our website, and we will link you to the appropriate locations. Other things are just kind of more complicated, complex knowledge for amateur radio, things that only come up with certain radio gear setups. And all of this is very different depending on the brand of radio you have and the specific product that we're talking about with Heil Sound. So one common question that we get a lot is, what microphone should I use for my ICOM radio? So ICOMs, as many of you know, are designed differently than Yaesu and Kenwood radios. One issue with that is that they do not tend to have as much gain to push microphones compared to Yaesu and Kenwood radios. So I'll let Donna answer this now because I think we have some special products that can help with that.
Well, like you said, ICOM is kind of tricky sometimes, a lot of times, with low mic gain. So one of the best products to go to would be one of our products with our ICOM element in there. It could be a headset with our ICOM element in there. It could be our hand microphone with the ICOM element in there. It's an electret mic. It'll work like gangbusters every time flawlessly. Where if you had a dynamic mic, you might experience low, very low mic gain, and your buddies will tell you, I can't hear you. Well, it's because of the way they design their radio to use a powered microphone, a phantom powered microphone.
Right. So these products that you're talking about, these would be anything that begins with an IC, right? So like the ICM microphone or an IC version of a Pro 7 headset, things like that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry.
And just so people know, you can still use a dynamic microphone with an ICOM radio. It just becomes much more complicated, and it will require some kind of preamp or something to boost the gain. And typically, this is where people get into various settings on their radios where they might not exactly know where to go.
And then you can go to our DSP settings page. It's at Heil. Where is it at?
I'll get it for you. heilhamradio.com/DSP-settings. Because this is another common question we get a lot, right?
Right. And people will ask, how do I set up my radio? It depends. There's so many variables, but Bob gives you a baseline to start. Please make sure you read over the DSP settings, just the beginning of that. If your exact radio isn't listed, it'll give you an idea of where to go, what knobs to turn, because we have a lot of radios listed there for ICOM, for Kenwood, for Yaesu, for Elecraft, but we don't have them all, so gonna have to wing it a little bit.
Right, yes, but there is a lot of good information there, and like Donna said, a lot of that is a starting point, and then underneath that are separate pages for your particular brand of radio. And also, we should say that that, again, is not just a starting point, but please use your radio's manual when you're going through that stuff as well, because even within ICOM or within Yaesu or within Kenwood, the different models could have very different settings once you get into that transceiver's particular menu sets.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. So kind of on a related type of question, another question we get very commonly is, what adapter cables do I need? So this is kind of related to what we were just talking about. There's lots of different kinds of radios, even within manufacturer, and we have different microphone versions, different headset versions. So what do you say when people say, what adapter cables do I need?
There again, on our website, Heil Ham Radio /adapter-selector.
That's right. Yep, heilhamradio.com/adapter-selector.
There's a selector page on there that's going to help you pick that. We have the radio listed, and then the microphone that you might want to be using. If it's a GM Elite and you're using it on a Kenwood, it'll tell you this radio, this microphone gets this cable.
Right. Yeah, and that's and we designed that to really help you because, again, within gear setups, there can be so many different options and things become very complex very quickly, where one particular piece of gear might not exactly work the way you expect it to, but really the solution is just having the right adapter cable. But another related type of thing that we get a lot is people not necessarily using the correct plugs for the correct jacks on the adapter cables, because our adapter cables come with multiple jacks. So Donna, would you like to show people really kind of what it is that we're talking about here for the different outputs of headsets and the different inputs on the adapter cables?
Yeah, see, most of our adapter cables will look like this. These are for our headsets, okay? This one happens to be for Yaesu 8-pin round. You would plug this into your radio, and we do this so you don't have to go to the back of your radio. It's all in the front. You plug this into the front of your radio. We have a large 1/4-inch female jack here, and it does say push to talk on the front of the radio, so you don't have to go around the back, and your mic plugs in to the small jack. And on our headsets, they pretty much all terminate the same way. 1/8" jack mono for the mic, and 1/8" with a converter, 1/4" stereo for the headphones. A lot of the times people will call me and say they've got their headphones plugged in here, their mic plugged in here, and it keys my radio. It's not working right. Well, no, it's not working right. You've got your headphone plug plugged into your push-to-talk jack. So your headphone plug goes straight into the radio. I don't know if you can see them. They're like I said, the mono is always the mic. Stereo is always the phones. They plug into your phone jack. You might have a little 706 ICOM 706 radio, and it has an 1/8" jack. And people don't realize you have a converter. You have a size converter on here. I don't know what else to say.
Oh, that's really good information, because, again, on our website, especially with the individual product pages for the adapter cables, there are drawings on there that clearly show schematics of what Donna's talking about with the mono plug versus the stereo plug and things like that. But it's really helpful to see in person how those can easily get confused and basically put in backwards, which will make it sound like it's not working when they're just plugged in incorrectly.
They're just plugged in. I had a guy the other day tell me he could not hear anything. I said, where's the stereo plug plugged in at? In the adapter cable. Well, there's no audio received coming through here. That's for your push to talk switch. Can you see that, Ash? Can you see that, guys?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's a really helpful, very common thing, especially for ham radio operators that might just be getting started, or everybody's setup is different. Some people use microphones most of the time, and then, hey, I've decided I'm going to try out using a headset, and they're not used to thinking about the same types of adapter cables as they would for other types of setups.
Right. You got it.
So another thing we get a lot with service issues is we will get products sent in for repair, microphones, headsets, and quite honestly, the reason why there is some issue is because the products have not been cleaned or serviced by the user as well as they should over the years. So Donna, do you have any suggestions for how people should clean their microphones or clean their headsets, or things they can do to kind of help have with the upkeep maintenance for those products to ensure a longer lifespan?
Right. Well, I'm going to start with the headset first, if that's okay. Some of our headsets have little ear pads that are foam. There's not really a lot you can do with those. Foam breaks down over time. You're going to have to buy new ear pads. The bigger sets that have the vinyl, you want to keep them clean, because when vinyl collects the oil from our skin on our ears, it gets real hard and it'll crack. So I suggest you just take a washcloth with a little bit of shampoo and water, wipe them off, and then rinse, wipe them off with a clean rag and dry them off. You just want to get that oil off of there. If you have these on every day, they're going to get gross. So clean them off and they'll last a long time. The windscreen, you can foam that off every once in a while if you want. We do have replacements, but we don't want you to have to replace them, once a year. You shouldn't have to, as long as you keep them all clean. Even the inside of the headband, wipe that off too. So it's just the oils in our skin, and they break stuff down.
Is there anything in particular they should wipe that off with?
Well, shampoo and water, a little bit on a warm or on a soft cloth, water and shampoo, wipe that off, and then just use a clean wet rag to clean it off, and it should last. Quite honestly, I use hand wipes a lot. Yeah. Or Lysol wipes even. Right.
We just something with something that has moisture, right? But not, but a low moisture content. Like don't dunk it in a bucket of soap and water. Yeah.
Right. Correct. Yeah, they're pretty easy. And the bigger headsets all come with, if you can see this, they all come with a cotton cover. Those, of course, can be washed and dried. You know, don't put them on wet, but just rinse them off a little bit and dry them out and put them back on. They
Right.
go on really easy.
Now let's say a customer has an ear pad that is
Done.
very old. It might be cracked. It might have completely worn out. What can they do to replace an ear pad?
Okay, well, they're all pretty easy once you know the tricks. And like I said, this is our Pro Set. Any of our Pro Sets, they come with a cotton cover. You can wash those. The ear pads actually, can you see this?
Yep.
Fit
just
on
snap
a
right
ring.
off.
You just take them and squeeze a little bit, and they pop right off. Can you see that?
Yep.
And there's a little piece of foam in there. That'll wear out really, really quick because it's foam. Replace that. We have those. The hardest part to this little ear pad is that it fits on a ring.
Mm-hmm.
We don't replace that ring. You have to keep that.
Okay.
And then make sure you look at it when you take it off, when you pop it off. You're going to slide that ear pad or the ring back into the new ear pad. And I hold the other end. It's tight. It's like a bicycle tire on a rim. I hold one side of the ear pad with my thumb and my fingers on the ring, and then you just stretch it right around. I'm not going to get a good picture of this. Yeah. You can't see this. I can't do it, and I have to be on a table. So
it's magic.
It's magic. But you get it on, and you have to tuck in the fabric. It takes like 2.5 hands. And you'll lay the little foam back on there, and then just snap it back on your headset right around. Ta-da.
There you go.
Okay, that's that one. I'm going to show you the Pro Set Elite because this is a fairly new headset, and people don't. This one's really easy. You will remove the cotton cover, put your fingers on the inside of that ear pad, and pull up, and they come right off. And I don't know if you can see that. There's a notch right there. You start the material in the notch. Hold on. And then you spin it. You just spin it until it goes all the way around, and it goes back in there perfectly. Okay, that's that one.
Great.
I have one more.
Okay.
I want to talk about this one because it's getting up in age. We don't carry this headset anymore, but I've got all the parts, everything to fix it. This is our Pro Set Plus. Here lately, it seems like everybody's calling and saying, I don't know how to get the ear pad off. Well, it's gotten so old, so stiff, they can't get it off. So on the back side, what I recommend is if that happens, you just make a little slice in the vinyl, and then there again, put your fingers on the inside and pull up. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, and then they'll come off, and your new ones will go on real easy. But I'm noticing a lot of these coming back, and they're like crispy. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, we have all of those replacement parts available, correct? So
Yes.
ear pads,
Covers, everything. I mean, we just about have everything. Even on the Pro Set Plus, we have the inner headband that if it gets broken or it's not stretchy anymore, you need a new one.
right. And to get those, you can just go to heilhamradio.com/shop and then just enter whichever model number you have, and you should be able to find the replacement parts for that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't have a microphone here to
Oh, that's
show you.
okay. Yeah. A microphone is generally simpler, right? I mean, especially compared to, replacing ear pads.
Right. You can unscrew the screen on a microphone. don't go any farther than that. Take that off. But you can clean that screen. I would recommend that you clean it with alcohol because alcohol dries very fast. Just plain old rubbing alcohol. Wipe it off inside and out. The foam might get grungy if you're talking every day, they get pretty gross. You can pull that outer foam or that inner foam out of that screen and suds that one off. But make sure you dry everything real well before you put it all back together again.
Right. Is there anything that they should do to the microphone, the top of the microphone element itself?
Nope, don't touch that.
Nope. Okay.
Just leave that untouched.
Yeah. And how frequently should people clean these products?
Well, they're gonna. It depends on the use. If you see gunk on the end of your microphone, wash it off. The ear pads. If you wear them every day, if I wore my headset every day, I'd probably wipe it off at least once a week. Less than that, if it's a periodic thing, if it's a field day thing only, they're going to be good to go for a couple of years. Just unless you don't want anybody else's skin on your skin.
Right. Okay. Is there any other closing thoughts or any other commonly asked questions that you would want to address?
That's two of the most often asked about is how to plug them in, how to plug a headset in, and how to clean it, or change the ear pads. And
okay.
That's about it. And you can always call, and I'll talk you through it. But and most of the time we're here every day, Monday through Friday.
And that's another thing I forgot to mention too. If you send in an email to service or info, please include your phone number too, because sometimes it's just easier and quicker for us to give you a call back.
Yeah, and talk you through it.
Right. So Donna, thank you very much for everything that you do. Thank you very much for your excellent service over the years. Thank you very much for helping our customers to not only better understand and use their products, but also to help them through any rough patches if they need any service or repair issues.
We'll be here, guys. We just got to get through this rough patch.
That's right. All right. Thank you again.
All right. Bye. Okay.
Thanks again to Donna for going through those frequently asked questions. We always like to put a face to the name at Heil Sound, and now many of you know who you're talking to when you have service questions. Now we're going to turn it on over to Bob Heil and his personal ham shack. Take it away, Bob.
So we're here in our new studio, and I've been wanting to do this for some time. I got a lot of things to show you, and hopefully will help you learn a little more about what's going on here. And what I'm going to do, I got a little PowerPoint type thing that I'll start, but we won't go all through it because I've got other things to do. So let's take a look here. And my whole thing is speech articulation. It's just not talked about a lot. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes of history. This is where it started with me in 1956. That Harvey Wells is still with me. I'll show it to you in a little bit. We're going to go all through this station. It's a big request that I have, and we're going to go all through how I wired it and all that stuff. But anyway, that was my first station. It grew big time. There I was one of the first 10 single sideband stations on 6 and 2 meters, and that happens to be in the middle there. That's a Johnson 6 and 2 Thunderbolt, 1.5 kilowatts that I built from a kit. And I'd only been licensed for a few years, but I learned all this from Larry Burrows at KMOX, as the chief engineer. There's the antenna that we had, a marvelous piece of gear. I came from the J-Beam people, and we did some tests with those. It's a whole story on that. NASA used it one time to do a test shot on the delay and all that. But anyway, it was great. But back in those days, this is what was happening. In the 1950s, that was a PA system that people used. It's small little columns. And so I'm going, wait a minute. I'm a ham. We can do it bigger. So we did. And we did it bigger. And we ended up traveling with some of the most popular groups of those days, and still with many of them helping them with their microphone. That's Jeff Beck in the middle, uh, of course, Peter Frampton, and good old Leslie West, uh, and Paul Rogers of Bad Company. That's Dolly in 1968, I think that was taken, maybe 9. And you recognize him, of course. Um, these are all people that used our microphones, and some still out there doing things. But that one right there, that's ZZ Top. But I got something to ask you. What group is that? Well, it's ZZ Top without beards. We did their very first tour. It was crazy, but it was fun. They're great guys, still good friends and using our stuff. But along all this stuff, we got a lot of notoriety that some idiot is building these multi-kilowatt sound systems. I get a call from Paul Klipsch. He was the father of the folded horn, hi-fi movement, and he wanted to come and see me. So he flew his Bonanza up to Marissa, Illinois, where I was building all this stuff. That was where I spent my life. And he flew in there, and he was just, I forget, he's going to cut me off at the knees. He didn't do it. He taught me things. I became a student of Paul Klipsch, and I was thrust into learning the science of audio. He directed me to the studies of Bell Labs, Dr. Fletcher, and Dr. Munson. Got into the ways to eliminate listener fatigue, and it's all over what the audio is. You get too bassy and all this, you get listener fatigue. And then how to tune a speaker cone to a speaker enclosure. That was a real blessing. I was so blessed to be a student of Paul's, a good friend all through the years. But you want to take your pencils and you want to pay a little bit of attention here. Look up Bell Labs in the 20s. They did some amazing things. They consolidated American Telephone and Telegraph with Western Electric. And Bell was the manufacturing arm. And there were, think about this, in the 20s, there were 4,000 scientists and engineers assigned to this newly created Bell Telephone Lab, fully dedicated to researching how our ears work, what frequency were most important to understand that spoken word. And we're talking about telephones now, because when they hooked up the very first telephone, they ran 2 wires from New York out to California. And what was crazy about it is about every 50 or 100 miles, they had a relay station. Just think about all of the stuff to do that. And when they got together and got it all happening, this is kind of what they heard. And it was like not good, because it was kind of distorted and it was all bassy and there was no articulation. However, that's not what they were sending. That's not what was coming out of the telephone. What was wrong? Like, there's got to be something wrong. Well, there wasn't anything electrically wrong. It was these things, our ears. Humans must have a little elevation between 2 and 3K to have good speech articulation. Man, I'll tell you, in ham radio, it is absolutely golden. And the sad part of it is a lot of people don't pay attention to that. The manufacturers did, okay, there it is, plug it in, it'll go, makes the meter move. No, it has to be so you can understand it. And that's what we have done for years at Heil Sound. Check this out. This is a Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Munson curve. After all the things they did, check it out. Now, it's far from flat. And what's very interesting is, you notice if you get up here around 100 dB, 110, it's a lot flatter. You get it down into the room level, look. So, wait a minute. What's the deal here? Well, the deal is that our ears need that mid-range. And, you pull up beside a car with the kids and playing their music really, really loud. Don't blame them, because look at there. If they play it loud, it's much flatter sounding. They can hear all the cymbals. They can hear all the guitar mids. They can hear all of the bass. And so they're not crazy. They're not trying to do anything weird. Well, I'd been off the air for about 12 years while I was on the road with all the groups. And I got back into radio. Hadn't been on for 20 years, for 12 years. I thought, what in the world is going on here? Because everybody sounded different. And it kind of sounded like that telephone thing. They had no mid-range. And I asked some of them, what's wrong with your audio? Well, no, I got a matching microphone. A matching microphone. Yeah, it came with the radio. Okay. But it doesn't sound good. Well, Bill tells me it sounds great in the morning when I talk to him. George says it sounds good. Well, I can't understand you very clearly. I have to really listen. Well, you just don't have the right receiver. I have the right receiver. So I figured we have to fix this. And so I did. What I did is I built this little box. And it was the first time equalization ever was entered into the ham radio ranks. And I'm going to go in and equalize that matching microphone. Listen how much more articulation, clearer, no listener fatigue. You don't have to dig. My voice is right there and it's very clear, all with 2 knobs. So this was the thing. I wrote an article for QST, and little did I know what was going to happen. The plant wasn't open. We had closed Heil Sound. And so I said, no, we can't do that. We just absolutely can't do any of that. But I did. I opened the plant, and we had a really interesting thing in the beginning, because I figured, well, we'll just build a few of these. We were building thousands of them, because I thought I wrote that article as a kit. I wanted you to build it, but that didn't happen. So it ended up that it got the cover award. I never knew there were such things. The cover award for QST, July 1982. Look it up, July 1982. And so many people built them. We sold them as kits also. But then we got into things. You remember Paul Clips was a teacher. And what we learned about was when you had too many lows, as I just demonstrated, it's hard to understand each word. And so you have to do something. Well, a lot of times you're out of luck. These even the latest transceivers don't have really good equalization. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to focus more energy on those mids, those articulate mids. That's where it all happens. If I take out the mids, it's okay, but it doesn't really sparkle. It doesn't have great articulation to cut through the noise and the piles and all of that thing. So what we have to do is learn to do all of that. We did it with microphone elements. We came up with the HC4 and the HC5, and it was a miracle, and it still is, even today. They're not hi-fi, they're not pretty sounding, they're articulate. And the DX crowd, they wanted it even better, and we built the HC4 for them. Today, we're building the HC7, which is a little bit better than the HC5. And we're working on a thing to have that come back in a microphone for you. But right now, what we're doing with the HC7s is they're coming in place in the great Pro 7 headset. which has become a very, very popular item in the de-expedition operators. There's many reasons for it. We'll get into that after a while. It's not just the microphone, it's everything else. We have power focus. When's the first time you ever heard power focus? Probably right now. We do have a focus because we have 500 watts, 1,000 watts, whatever. And why not focus that for maximum articulation? You run up a lot of bass, guess what? There's where all your power is. Did it make sense when I had all that bass cranked up? No. So you don't want to do that. You want to get rid of all that. Your power focus should be mid-range. And then I hear this so often. You have to learn to speak into a microphone. Oh, what happens, guys will get a desk stand. Now listen intently and watch. As I take that microphone away, what happened? Lost my audio. Well, that's no big deal. I'll just crank it up. Well, if I crank it up, guess what's going to happen there? What's going to happen is going to get real hollow and echoey sounding. And that's the way you sound if you're trying to do this. Oh, Bill said, I don't care what Bill says. You are the engineer. You have to listen to your signal and find out what you're doing out there. And you can do it. You can do it. But let's get this thing back to normal, because here's the deal. Remember I told you in the beginning, we're going to be talking about the science. And so far, everything I've told you is the science. From the Bell Lab engineers, Dr. Fletcher, Dr. Munson, Paul Klipsch, all these guys, they taught us these things. And I want you to learn this because you're going to make your signal better, both receive and transmit. But here's the science of it. Every time you double the distance of your microphone, you'll lose 3 dB. Do you know what 3 dB is? That's doubling your power. You just lost half of it. Take it out here, it's 6 dB. So you can't make it up with gain, because if you try to make it up with gain, it's just echoey. You have to get on. You never, ever want to be more than a couple of inches from a microphone. Another thing also I want to point to you, a lot of times it's not good to speak straight into a microphone. This microphone was specially designed for Paul Rogers. Paul came to me and said, I need a microphone that's very articulate, because there's no equalization on this thing. We're just flat, but it's very articulate sounding. And he said, I want that because I don't trust my sound man once in a while. And so we built this. And the other thing, he wanted a microphone that didn't have any handling noise. I mean, you do that with your matching microphone. And that's another thing about it. But the other thing is the pattern. The pattern of the microphone was very important. Number one, they don't want to be stuck like you see them all hugging the ball mic things. You see, they can't. They have to be right here. Well, we fixed that because we listened to people like Joe Walsh, Paul Rogers, Charlie Daniels, and engineers for all these guys. And if you're paying close attention, I've moved this baby around 180 degrees and I didn't lose any audio. How'd I do that? Well, we did that by the structure of the microphone. And they also wanted, this was the toughie, no rejection problems. Because they usually have monitors down here underneath them. And they wanted to cut out behind. No rear rejection. They don't want anything coming from the back. Well, how in the world are you going to do that? Well, you go find a ham. And only a ham could do this. I have so much fun trying to explain this to engineers because they always say, well, wait a minute, how'd you do that? How'd you do it? And I say, well, I'm a ham. Yeah, what's that got to do with it? It's an antenna theory. What? Well, it's all about phasing. They know the word, They don't understand the word. You, all of you, are going to never forget the next few minutes. Trust me, if you have never heard this demonstration, this is not a magic act. This is a demonstration of science. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 microphones and we're going to plug these little babies together. There we go. I have a Y cord. Let me unplug. No magic in the Y cord. It's just a simple parallel to each microphone. And the microphones would be PR22s. They sound exactly alike. No big problem. And oh, here's a little side note. If you had a 500-watt amplifier and you weren't making the pileups because you got some bassy microphone and matching and it's only painted the same color, it's got the name on it. It really infuriates me. If you had that set up and you're not getting through the pileups, you're going to buy a kilowatt. I'm going for the big time. My 500 watts ain't getting it, so I'm going to go to a kilowatt. How many decibels are you going to gain to old Mr. Bill over there? 3. This is not magic, folks. This is 3. It's science. When you double your power, it's 3 decibel. So when I take these 2 microphones and put them up together, it's going to raise the level 3 dB right here on my meter. You ready? Because it's going to get really loud. Double my power from 500 watts to 1,000. Could be 1,000 to 2,000. You ready? Hello? What? Wait a minute. It didn't get any louder. What are you talking about, Heil? What kind of magic act is this? It's not a magic act. The human hearing, the human cannot detect 3 dB. The only way we can do it would be in an anechoic chamber with absolute scientific things feeding it. It's the only way. And maybe we could hear 3 dB. I've done it. I've been there. And I'll tell you what, you can't do, even in that system, it's really hard. That's just a little side note that I like to do. Here's the biggie. I made this little plug. And this little plug, number 3 is hooked to 2 and 2 is hooked to 3. Okay? Big deal. Hey, still works. What's wrong with you, Heil? What are you trying to play Kreskin or Magician or whatever? No. You ready? If you haven't been listening, this is the moment. You're never going to get it, because when I take these 2 mics that are out of phase, this one, when I talk and the diaphragm's going this way, this one's out of phase, it's going this way. What do they do together? Nothing. Nothing. No, they still work. They cancel each other when you do that. Oh man, I wish we had about 2 hours. It's my favorite subject, my very favorite subject. And let me go back to the other microphone. There are so many things that we could talk about right now. Things like when you go over here and you push the noise blanker, or the noise blanker is the same deal. It's part of it. Mostly that's equalization, but also it's taking things out of phase. You go to the notch filter. You get some idiot that's right beside you who doesn't respect anything you do, and you hit that notch filter and it goes away. How's that work? It works really simple. They take that signal out of phase. He's gone. He's gone. How do noise canceling headphones work? How does your Yagi work? You have a Yagi? Everybody's got a Yagi. Well, let's talk about that. See, it's a shame you don't know. These should be questions number 2, 3, 4, 5 on the test. Don't you think? I don't want to hear about all the political nonsense that they feed it. No, I want to know how to make my ham radio career better. build things, make things happen. How does my Yagi work? Dr. Yagi came into being. He took a driven element, or put it, let's say he's on 40 meters, tuned it 40 meters, put it on a boom. Then by scientific calculation, didn't have computers in those days, if he made it so long and went out so far, he could get gain. There's no amplification. There's nothing but RF at the right spacing. Then he did another one behind, and that became a reflector, and you could get maybe 10, 15 dB reduction. How's it work? That baby's out of phase. You just saw that. You just heard that. You experienced that. So many things. Oh my goodness, so many things. And one of the things that I always wanted to do, I'd heard about it. I never really paid attention to it because I figured, oh my gosh, it's going to be so expensive. And it's not. It's not expensive at all. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to find you a little video I have. And you see, the main thing about all of this is it's out there. It's just the fact that nobody has ever showed you. And it's really sad. I've always heard about phased arrays. And yet nobody could ever tell me about it other than, oh, you don't want to get into that. That's too much money. Really? Huh. Okay. Well, when we moved down to the Ozarks about 8 years ago, it had 5.5 acres. Okay. I'm going, yeah. And Sarah, my lovely wife, Sarah, one of the first things she said as we were looking through the property, she said, this is going to be great for your ham radio. And I'm going, yeah. Here it is. Check it out. And this is a demonstration for all of the doom and gloomers about phased arrays. This one, by the way, cost me about maybe $25. I already had dipoles. So do you. Check it out. The demos. We have just completed the installation of a 75-meter phased array antenna system, consisting of a pair of coaxial dipoles mounted atop a pair of 55-foot telephone poles. We put them in an inverted V fashion, and the poles are 64 foot apart. These are 500 foot from the operating position, fed with RG213. In order to make the antennas directly from east to west, we use a delay line, a 43 foot here on 75 meters that's switched in and out of the driven element, either east or west. The downlead length is 126 foot. We take all of that coax, the downlead length, the 43 foot phasing delay line, mounted them in a container, one of the plastic container boxes that we actually buried, and just the top of it shows. It's all sealed, so it's waterproof. But that's the way we get to switch all the components from 500 foot using one of the Amatron RCS 8V remote switches. It really works well. Take a listen to how we can get at least 10 to 20 dB difference east to west.
Like a lot of people do. Mine's usually 3 inches or so. That's just after I get done mowing it. And I know, probably, we get a dry day. I'm going to have to lay out there and mow. That's just all there is to it because, if you leave it that high, when it starts growing in it all, it's looking ragged pretty quick. So it's to that point now, and
the system really performs on weak signals. Take a listen as we switch to the direction they're coming from. Also note the preamplifier makes no difference on 75 meters on this signal. The preamp will, of course, make the meter read higher, but in many cases, the preamplifier does not cause the weak signal to be more readable. Check it out.
Yeah, well, I see they introduced big display on it, and I don't know if that is their form of portal, or what that is. You want that hooked up to your computer, and then did you use your handheld to go through it?
Here's some great sounding AM stations, and we were getting about 20 dB front to back.
When the leads drop off, I'll start using it. Daryl, Brixton Digital Outreach Recorder, I need to do that too. That'd be nice to have. You know, as I mentioned to you too about your pictures with Fifi, I had sent that out to a few friends, and one of my cousins that was. Well, we were talking about you yesterday with Brian. Brian, you know, the thought was if you could locate that remote receiver out at Brian's QTH, and of course, by the way, if you have it out of Brian's QTH, you could use the internet. And VW, well, I'm going to need to go up on the hill and swing that log around to the left, because you were off the back, apparently. I thought, I just didn't think about which direction anybody would be.
Great performance from just a couple of pieces of wire. You can do this. It's very simple. You need just three things. Of course, you need the antennas, but you need the delay line. You need the remote switch, and of course, then the downlead links. The RCS 8V from Ameritron makes it so easy, but the delay lines are important. They have to be exactly 43 foot on 75, 22.6 on 40, and 11.4 feet on 20 meters. The downlead links, both of them have to be exactly the same length, and all of that can be coiled up and put in that container box that you buried. Keep in mind, you can do this with regular wire dipoles. Just make sure they're exactly the same height and the spacing is correct. Have fun with this great technology of phased arrays.
Well, I think I don't think I have to say anything. That tells the story, and it tells it very well. I lived with that for about 6 years, and we just came back here to our Illinois home. We never have left here, but we came back here, and I got to tell you, I miss it a lot. Let's talk about some of these things, because a lot of guys are saying, "Oh, the switching." No, you go to MFJ Ameritron. There's the switch right there. I have oh golly, what have I got in this place? I have probably 5 of these. We're going to go through that here in just a little bit. I've had a lot of questions, and I can't do this on Ham Nation. It takes too much time. And so this will be up there for a lot of people to go see. We're going to go through all of this stuff. This is the switcher. That's it. And boy, I got to tell you, I should have taken that apart. The relays are fabulous in here. So don't give me that nonsense about, oh, they're not very good. No, fantastic. Now, one thing that I did do is I didn't like that. I don't like rotary switches. So I went, and we'll cover this in a little bit when we get closer. I do all of it with the Les Paul guitar switches, and it worked really good. This switched the phasing over here. This switched the antennas, and this switches the receivers. So I have 35 of those relays. Well, what would you figure it all out, but the boxes. But there were 35 relays in all that system, and it really plays. And it does pretty good here too, but it's not the phased array. Okay, well, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about this. And I would like to spend a lot more time with you, but we don't have everything today. What I want to talk to you about, well, I just dropped it. I want to talk to you about how in the world do you put connectors on. I know you do it this way, everybody's happy, get out of there. Everybody's happy. They saw it in the handbooks, and that's the way you do it. You got to take this back. And then when you do that, you got to make sure you have a little of the shield in there so you can solder it through those holes. You never know if it got soldered or not. And when I was very, very, very young into this hobby, I met up. I've told you guys about this before if you've heard some of my stuff. I met up with a guy on the air the second week I was on the air at 6 meters. And long story short, but he turned out to be, he was the chief engineer at KMOX Radio in St. Louis. And I started talking to him each night. And then I became one of his little proteges, I guess. He taught me so many things. But what he did teach me was how to put a coax connector on. And I got to find another connector for you. No, that won't work. I got solder in it. Here, this one might. And I just thought it was very ingenious. Why doesn't everybody do it? And boy, I got a lot of nonsense from people, and I still do today. Oh, you can't do it like that. Well, guess what? And I did it for years. Here's what you do. This is 100% knowing that shield is going to be good. Of course, you got to think about this. Put this on first. I've done some and forgot about it. Anyway. Okay. And what you do is cut the shield to right here, and then fold it back. And you've already did this, so you just have to go in here and put that little booger in here. And after you do that, I think I got solder in this one, so I might not be, there we go. And screw it on there a little bit. Okay, see that came out there, okay. Now, you got to pull this all back. Now put the cap on it. And when you get this all finished, you solder the shield. And boy, you can get a beautiful job. And I'll show you a piece of coax that I did like this. I brought it from Pleasant Hope. This was one of the phasing lines. It has been out in the weather for what? 6 years. Look at that solder connection. I know it's 100%. And I lived with the aggravation of guys telling me how stupid I was to follow an engineer. He didn't know what he was talking about until one day, not too many years past here, I got to visit Tim Duffy, the worldwide big-time ultra contest station. He's got hundreds of coaxes. Guess how Tim Duffy does his? That way. So, hey, I'm not the only little nonsensical freak. It works. And that's what you have to do, is build things that work. It's just, it is so sad. It is just so sad. And we try to help you as much as we can. A lot of this is in my handbook. If you don't have this handbook, get it. I didn't write it. I just compiled it. And a lot of these things are notes from some of my old-time buddies back in the 50s and 60s and how to do things. I don't read books like this. I don't read things like this anymore. If you want to do something, buy a handbook like this. This was the first handbook I ever had. It was a 1957 handbook. A few months after I was licensed. I still use it today. And that's what you want to do. This science did not change. This science did not change. So let me clue you in on some of that. Go to Hamfest and they got stuff all over. Well, don't buy the new stuff. Buy those old handbooks. And when you get into some of those things, it'll make you a little bit more cognizant of what's going on in your station. I want to go through a couple of other things here. There's, like I said, there is so many things. One of the things that I wanted to tell you about, I'm going to do this little demo that I recorded. A lot of people do not understand some of the buttons that we have on some of the radios today. And one of them is that little baby right there. Let's take a look here. We're talking about the fast and slow AGC.
Stuff that we used to do and then apply it to a new application, and it works great, so that's very good.
Now we're going to switch it to fast.
Abilities that come along with this hobby. The technician class was truly a technician class test, and I like that part too, so very good.
When you slow down the AGC, then you don't hear that noise come up every syllable. So you want to run the AGC down. Unfortunately, there are some transceivers that they don't have any AGC adjustment, and it's really sad. But you want to look at your AGC. And I hope you noticed also, I run the RF gain down. I never have it open. Never. And so you run that RF gain down a little bit, and you run the AGC slow, you're going to improve your ability to hear stations. And the other thing that I want to talk about, get this started. This is the RF gain thing. I'm going to do that again. I want you to pay attention here. A lot going on there. We rotate the RF gain down. Right at first is wide open. That's the way you would probably hear it if you didn't do anything. But listen how much more intelligent that this sounds. Listen how much the noise went down just by reducing the RF gain. Listen to this. I'm going to do it again. Just by playing with the RF gain and, of course, the AGC. And those are probably things that you didn't know about, and you should know. And that's what ticks me off. The other thing about this is an ICOM situation. A lot of guys do not understand transmit bandwidth. Now, every transceiver has this, but not exactly on one button. But the transmit bandwidth is, are you going to be 2.9 wide? Are you going to be 2.4? You can go down to 1.8, but it gets real piercing, hard to copy on time. So I usually run around 2.4 or 2.9 and equalize things properly. But with ICOM, I mean, the others, Kenwood, Yaesu, it's easy to do. ICOM, it's a little tricky. It works great, though, but here's the deal. One button does both the transmit wide, narrow, medium. Push it. Notice I'm pushing it hard. And when I push that button real hard, it's changing the bottom narrow, wide, mid. But then if I just, after I'm wide and I just tap it, it turns the compressor on and off. I don't know why they did that, because it has nothing to do with audio compression. But you hold it down real long, hold it heavy, and it will change the transmit bandwidth. After you get the bandwidth set, then you can just tab it, and away you go. And those are things that, I don't know, they're not in the books. Here's one of my favorite things to play. I copied this.
From kilowatt 5, kilo, Echo Oscar Kilo, kilowatt 5, Echo Oscar Kilo. Whiskey 0, Oscar Juliet Yankee. Whiskey 0, Oscar Juliet Yankee from kilowatt 5, Echo Oscar Kilo. Please copy 7 Alpha.
You'll notice that the station they were talking to was a lot more articulate. I wonder why, huh? Listen again. He's so bassy and distorted because he's overdriving the preamplifier of his audio section. Here we go.
Alpha, Oscar Kilo, 7 Alpha, Oscar Kilo. Thank you. Copy 3 Alpha, Sierra Delta.
Here again, that station that answered him has listened and has his articulation right. And then you get into this. Beautiful. This is beautiful.
Sierra, Echo Charlie, copy. November 4th, Sierra Echo Charlie, please copy 1 Echo Missouri, 1 Echo Mike Oscar. Roger, Roger, 3 Alpha GA, Georgia.
And those guys are probably using HC5s and HC4s. But it's all put together where you need to pay attention. You just need to pay attention and make it happen in your station, because you can. You really can. Kind of running down here a little bit in time. I want to go through a few things with you. A lot of people ask me, hey, when are you going to tell us about your station? Well, maybe this is the day. We'll go into some of this. And those are all the pieces of gear. The switcher you'll see up at the top, that's the Ameritron switcher. So I come out of that, the final amplifier, the input of that is driven by these pieces that are switched by another one. The antennas are selected up at the top, go through the bridge, the antenna bridge, the oscilloscope, and the Kenwood amp. All of those pieces go together. Then we go down here and we get to the switcher that switches the transceivers to the input of that Kenwood. Very simple, very simple. And the rotary switches, that's the Ameritron switch panel. I replaced that with the guitar switches. I like it a lot. But here we can have antenna 1 comes down here to the Dow key relay. It's a mechanical relay, been around for years. And it selects the Mosley receiver, and on transmit, the 720 and the 730 modulator. And I also have a patch panel for the microphones. I'll show you this in a minute. The second one, Dow key selects either the 75A4 and on transmit the Harvey Wells. The next one, we select the central electronics, the exciter and the final, and the receiver is a NC300. Also have an empty one, and that's just for receiving, it's a Drake 2B. But that's the setup there. The audio, this is a broadcast patch cable or a patch board. It's called the Symmetrix 528E. It's the most amazing piece. If you ever see one, buy it. They're just a few $100s. It's the best you'll ever spend on your station. It's compression, limiting, noise, a de-esser. So if you have a lot of, but we don't have to worry about that too much in ham radio with a narrow band. But we can select microphones and 3-band parametric. There's 9 controls. We should have a whole day on how to do parametric. It really is tough, and we're just, if I had a lot of time, maybe we'll do this again soon, but you need help to get into that. It's very important what you do to make all this happen. And the other thing that I like about the switchers is you don't have any problems of noise and all that kind of stuff. They just quietly, smooth switch your antennas, your receivers, your transmitters, your transceivers. Really great. Well, I came here without antennas. This is a little 100-foot, if that, wide lot. And after coming out of what we did down there, it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So I got a hold of Richard at MFJ, and he said, I'm going to send you some things to play with. And boy, did he. My good buddy, W89MW, got a hold of I bug Mike more than I probably should. He just lives up the road a few miles. He come and help me. What we got was very simple. This was a MFJ, could have been under the Ameritron label. It was their push-up pole. And man, I was amazed when I opened it up. Good grief. It's huge inside. That's what really intrigued me. Look at that stuff. Very thick fiberglass. I thought it was, when I first saw it, I thought the darn thing was metal. It was very heavy when I took it out of the box. I thought, whoa, what's happening here? But we did that. Then there's these little clamps you put on it so you can make that baby go to whatever height you want. So what I did is I then mounted that sucker to a pole and measured out my antenna, got out my old calculator, 120.618. There it is. Made it all happen, and we built the antenna. And so now we're able to make things happen with an antenna. And we're going to be really happy when I get it up. Well, we got it up. And it's just working great. Here's how we laid it all out, rolled the wire. And the thing about rolling wire, just be real careful and unroll it so it doesn't kink. It's got a memory to it, and you don't want to destroy that memory. And then we tie it onto the insulator for the end. Now, don't cut it off. What you want to do there is make a loop and tie it back, because you someday might want to make it longer. So that's what you do with the excess. But when it's all done, that's what we got. The thing really works. It's up about 35, 40 feet. And one of the things that I do, I think I have a shot of this. Yeah, I don't use pulleys. I use their stainless steel carabiners, and the rope just always goes through them very smoothly. It's really good. So you don't want to use pulleys, you use carabiners. So that's my whole deal. And I'm so happy that I'm able to do some of this stuff and make it happen. And I want you to pay attention to some of these things, because in making your own antenna, you can do it easily. And the problem is we never see the good stuff. We always see other things, but know how to measure things out. Get out your calculator. There's a center insulator, and I usually take a screwdriver and stick the old. I got about 150 yard, 150 foot. It's a construction ruler. It's all cloth material. That works really good. And then calculate it out, cut it out, and away you go. But when you put it on the post, no problem. Just shove up what you need, as much as you need. And again, you see how thick all that stuff is. So it's no problem. It's very easy. And when you get it all done, you got something that's really, really nice. And they make a whole bunch of those, by the way. And all of the manufacturers have them. DX Engineering has some. I know there's several others. And these push-ups are great. They sent a couple more that are really light. You can use up to like 20 feet. And you can actually use them for like vertical antennas. One of them's, I think, 34 feet. One of them's 40 feet. And you use it for putting up a vertical wire on 40 meters. So there's just so many things that we can do to make all this stuff work. And why are we not hearing from some of the big boys? I don't know. It's really sad, but there are things we can do, and we try to help you along the way. One thing I want to do before we get out of here, get over and look at the gear. Everybody asks me about the talk box. Well, of course, it's my claim to fame, I guess. This was a prototype. We built just a few of these in fiberglass. And we were doing those speakers in fiberglass. And it worked well, but we thought we better do this out of metal. We could do it less expensive. And you can, if I get that, you can probably see the signature on it from Mr. Peter. We get together occasionally, but that was the talk box. And how did that happen? Well, there's a story, and it evolves around ham radio operators. In 1939, Alvino Ray, who was W6UH, I think it was, used to talk to him on 20 meters a lot. Alvino got a throat microphone, like they use in the World War II planes. But instead of using this as a microphone, he plugged the output of his guitar amplifier in here. He put this on his wife's throat. She stood behind a curtain and she was singing, and his guitar would modulate her vocals at the frequency of the guitar notes. That was 1939. It all went away. Till 1950, a guy by the name of Pete Drake came along. He and Bill and Dottie West, they came up with a little speaker, a little funnel, and they did it in a studio. Well, that's all good. But how do you do this live with big power? And it was Joe Walsh and I that figured out 2 hams. Again, gotta understand, it all started with 1 ham. Now 2 hams got involved in it. And we put a 100-watt driver together, and bingo, we're there. So what we did is we put it on just the driver alone, and then put it in a steel box. And from there, it went crazy. I should have brought the picture. I had a picture. We were building hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of talk boxes. Made a lot of careers. Gave one to Frampton for a Christmas present in 1974. Bon Jovi. Sent one to Bon Jovi's uncle, who was the producer of all of his records in the beginning. They needed a hook. Well, Living on a Prayer was a good one. So that has a lot of things going on. Well, I want to get into a little bit about receiving. I got to tell you, there's so much going on, but nothing about receiving. And I just never understood why it hasn't happened before. So what I'm going to do, this is maybe Russian roulette. I'm going to try to find some signals on 20 meters. That's a lot of noise. Big birdie I got this afternoon. I don't know where that's coming from. Band is really bad. Here we go. Okay. And here's the way. That's the way you hear it. Get it up here. But listen how we can make it more articulate.
Some of their manuals are a little bit.
I rolled off some low end. Brought up that 2.5 mid. Bingo. That's how you hear it.
Well, we're looking forward to some nice warm weather. I think the next couple.
Again, there it is flat. It has 2 headphone amplifiers, one for the logger, one for the operator. Or if you have a hearing imbalance, you can plug the left side here and the right side here, and you can adjust the levels left and right. Nothing's ever been done like this. And it's time. Took me a couple years to get this right. And that is a record out. You don't need a bunch of darn Y chords or other things you kludge together. All you need is that. Away you go. It's cool. It works great. And the speaker, I'm really proud of the speaker. The speaker is something to behold. The thing about the speaker, every speaker out there is it's pretty bad, because you've been sold on a deal that it was a matching. Well, the only matching about it is it's painted the same color. Believe me, it's painted the same color. Got a really horrible little 3-inch speaker, and it's just not good. So we did that the way it should have been done. Paul Klipsch taught me how to do this. What we do is we take the speaker outside, 5-inch speaker. We tune that outside. I want to know the resonance of that cone. Then the speaker cavity is built with stuff in it so that it tunes that particular frequency. So there's no phase distortion. The speaker doesn't move. It has a really nice tweeter, titanium tweeter, and a crossover. But what's really cool about it, it doesn't have a 1 watt at 10% distortion. That's what you have in your transceiver. It's 25 watt at 0.1%. And you're going to tell me, oh, no, I paid $15,000 for my transceiver. It's really great. Nope. It's got 1 watt at 10%. But you've never seen the spec on it. Not on the audio. I just went through some of this with Rob Sherwood a few weeks back, and he agreed with me. He says, why don't they do that? Well, you know why. We solve it. We solve it very easily, and it sounds great. And we did the same thing to the Pro 7. I was able, first of all, because of the depth of the ear pad, the speaker's set back inside there. So if you have a hearing aid, a normal headset lays right on your ear and it feeds back. You can't use headphones. Now, there's a miracle right there. And I have so many people come to me and thank me for designing and getting this together. This is an amazing product. It also has phase reversal. Yeah, my favorite subject. What are you going to do with phase reversal? All of our headsets, most of them have phase reversal and have for years. We're the only people to do it. Because you take these 2 speakers and you hear this little weakie back here, you reverse the phase, he comes up front. You can acoustically move signals in your head by reversing the phase. It is a miracle. I mean, really something special for guys that are into this hobby seriously, or people that just want a good headset. Some of the other things I want to do, what I'll end up doing here, let me switch the camera and the microphone because I can walk around and I'm going to show you what really is going on in the station. That probably will be the best thing to do. So let me do this for right now. And I'll change my microphone. Also change my camera. Okay, there we go. Should be able to hear me. This is it's a Pro 7 we've been playing with for the broadcast industry. We get talked a lot by the broadcast industry to do something for them. So we might have it. By the way, the wonderful PR40, Sirius Radio, just have 250 of these. And that tells a story about how good this microphone is. And one of the reasons is the rear rejection. You heard it with the other microphone. This one's amazing. And it's just a much richer sounding microphone than all the others that they've used for years. One that has been a standard. Well, sorry, that standard is pretty much gone. It's PR40. Okay, let's see if I can make you dizzy here. I'm going to carry this camera around. I know I'm not gonna record anything. So here we go. My pride joy is this little guy right here. This is the ICO 720. Let me get out of these cables. This is a 720 with the matching 720 VFO. But that's a CW transmitter. And it was a biggie. It was a kit sold for $79. $79. Amazing. But ICO was big in the hi-fi world. So they took one of their hi-fi amplifiers with EL34s in it, took the output transformer with 8 ohms out, put in a 5,000 ohmer for a modulator for the CW rig. It's beautiful. And I've been using it for a number of years. I wrote an article on electric radio, how to do push to talk. I hate rotary switches, so I took care of that. And the receiver's very special. It's a Mosley CM1. They only built a few of them. Go to my QRZ page, please, and read the story about how it was done by John Clemens, who was an aerospace engineer at McDonnell Aircraft. They were building the space capsule at the time. And he sold that to Mosley because they were on the airport. That was my first little product. 68 that was. No, it was 67. Little mixer. We built one on the show not long ago, Randy, AGE and I. And then that's a switch box that allows me to switch between these 3 receivers and transmitters. That's a VFO that was built for me. I just got to tell you, what a deal. WA4, and get that so the lights on. We've been a friend through the Harvey Wells thing. He is a Harvey Wells freak. And he even did this for me. WA4 FTY. That's a picture of his Harvey Wells receiver. They never made a Harvey Wells receiver, but he did. That's a puzzle, everybody. Sarah and I put that puzzle together. He did that for a Christmas present a few years ago. Oh, man, he is just something else. WA4FTY. You hear him on, he'll be on AM. Give him a call. Good friend. There's my scope. Everybody has to have an oscilloscope. That's on the ICO. And then on the other transmitter, we use the central electronics. There's the central electronics. I built that from a kit. 1958. That's the matching VFO, which was an ARC 5 transmitter for a B29, and we converted it to a VFO at 5 megs for that. You see, guys and girls, this is what we did back in those days. I paid $5 for that transmitter. After the war, there were so much of this stuff came out. Oh my gosh, all kinds of super duper things came out, and that was part of that. And we did all kinds of crazy stuff with those ARC 5s. And here comes my blessed, my Harvey Wells. It's been with me all these years, still works, original tubes. I love it. That, now listen up, that is an 813 final, does about 500 watts. Do you see something interesting about it? There is no plate or tune. It's self-tuning. All you see is a band switch and a meter switch. 1956, Joe Batchelor and Wes Shum came up with this great design for Central Electronics. What a miracle. And these are things that even today, some of them can't do it. And if they do, they want $10,000 for it. Now, there's the amplifier, the 3500s is what I use with the ICO and the Harvey Wells. And now this is going to answer everybody. I know you're going to have a question because I've always said I don't like tuners. I don't use tuners. I don't want to have one, but I got one. Let me see here. Oh, this is crazy. But I want to prove to you that it's not hooked up. Wait a minute. I don't want anybody going away saying, oh, Heil's full of nonsense. He's got a tuner. Yeah, he does, but it's just sitting there. I won that at a Hamfest in Warren, Ohio, decades ago. It's crazy. I know. I haven't grown up yet. Don't know what to do. Spend a lot of time here with cassettes, CDs, and mini disc. Do a lot of audio with that stuff. And over there, you might have seen the record changer. Put a lot of it on computer stuff. There are those switches. I love those switches. Those back when we had it to the phased array was the east and west array. That's for my Variac, and we'll get into that a little bit. And those are all the various switches to go from to switch the antennas. That was another one of the boxes. Then I have another one that switches to various rigs. So all of this stuff can be done very, very easily with that. And 7610, the 2000, use it on 2 meters. And the wonderful 7300. My gracious, how cool, huh? And then, of course, the Drake 2B, you see that every night behind me. But there's something else. What is that? In 19, it would have been about 78 when I just came back into radio. We got the club, the Marissa Amateur Radio Club. There was only, I think, maybe to start with 5 or 6 members. It grew to 300. We were doing things. One of the things we did was take a CB radio and put it on 10 meter FM, and I was kind of the father of 10 meter FM. I wrote a book on it and how to convert, and then we built the boards, little demodulator board and so on. Boy, did we have fun. Whew, that was great. And Sunspot Cycle was good. Of course, you got to have a scope. And that's the little Mars. What a cool little rig. It's a 5-watt mobile rig, 1955. Very rare. And my friend Wayne, WA4FTY, he gave that to me for another Christmas present. My goodness. And everybody has to have a 706. You absolutely do. And those are some boxes that I've built over the years. And there's the old pine board. I should have got it out, but you guys have seen that many times. But the pine board won that award, and it's caused a lot of sensation with people that have never built anything. Well, now what are we doing? What is Heil up to now? I'm building a final for it. The final is going to be an 807. That's the final that's in the Harvey Wells. So we're going to use an 807, and there's the power supply, 700 and maybe 20 volts. So I'm happy about that, and we'll be talking about it. I'll let you know as we get along, but it's gonna be fun. And the other thing about that is that we're going to help you find parts. I know everybody says, "Oh, what are you going to do for parts?" Well, you you go out and find them. You know, I probably should do something else. I know I'm making you seasick walking around with this camera, but I should show you something that you might, if you're building a station, you should do this. Look into building something that can be walked behind. You have to be able to get behind it. That's really important. And I have this covering up there because it for Ham Nation, so it's not too ugly. But everything needs to be wire tied. There's, come on here, camera. There's one of the switchers. The other one's on the other side down there. But wire things neatly and have some space that you can get behind. It's very important. And then you can get to some of these things. So when you have a problem, you're there. No problem at all. You're there. So I have a lot of guys ask me about it. So there's a little tour. I know it was really terrible, but it's what we do. That's why I wanted to do this. We didn't, you know, Michelle, Ash, Stephen, Sarah, all of the folks at the plant, they came up with this idea, and we're not trying to be NBC. So that's what we did. And I think it's worked pretty good. And you might have learned a few things. Let me switch microphones. That works really good. I'm happy with that headset. It's got the right things for the broadcasters. The other thing that there's, as I said, there's so many things about this. But there's one thing that I want to do, and that is talk about hand microphones. Oh, it's awful. And I know you say, well, I came with the radio, so it's stock. They didn't build it. They didn't build it. That's the problem. And they all sound like this. It's like, what? What are you doing? It's real hollow sounding and sometimes very shrill. I can maybe equalize. This is flat. I can maybe take some of that out, but the hollowness is gone, not gone. Whenever you put a clamshell in that's what you get, you know, and it's just terrible. So we did something about it. About, I don't know, it's probably maybe 10 or 15 years ago, somewhere along in there, I figured out what we can do is we can do this. And what this is our hand microphone. Let me get it all set up. No EQ. This is the way it comes to you. But what's cool about it, it doesn't sound like a hollow microphone like all of the others. I know. It came with the radio, and Bill said it just sounds fine. Listen to yourself in your monitor. Or if you really want to do it, take another receiver with a pair of headphones and listen to yourself. Then you will know what's going on. But I think you have to agree this is the best sounding hand microphone you ever heard. And it's because of one reason. Yeah, the element is good. But as I told you, if you take anything, put it in a clamshell, that's what you get. This one doesn't have that because I put a screen on top of it and it detunes that. So there is no cavity that's tuned. It's open. Very simple. Why hasn't everybody done it? I don't know. But anyway, these are things that have always bugged me. And now I can do something about it. And I usually do. Right or wrong, we make it happen. And the other thing that you need to know about is that we're very excited about what's going on with all of the guys and their handy talkies and stuff. We've been asked so many times to build things for handy talkies, and there it is. The HTH, it's great. And if you haven't used this or seen it, check it out. It will absolutely change your mind that there's somebody that can help you. The BM10, we've had it. It was our first product in 1985. And we took it away for a while, but we had to bring it back because a lot of people said, we got to have it. So the BM10 is back, and it has a push-to-talk in the line. So away you go. It's cool. The story about that, 1985, I just entered the market, and that had those elements, and a lot of guys were duct taping those elements to their old headsets. And the North California DX Club asked me, hey, build us a headset. And so I did. That was it, the BM10. And they took it on I think it was Navasa, some big DXpedition. I went out and watched them load all the gear. Fantastic. We upped the game a little bit with the BM17. I love this headset. If you haven't seen any of this stuff, check with your dealers. They all have it. And it's just things that we've been doing. And of course, the best-selling headset in the world is the Pro Set. And it's still here. It's not expensive, but it's great. And if you really want to do it, well, of course, you do the Pro 7. There's no question about it. You do the Pro 7. But I have lots of things that I'm working on. The box is full. I've gotten so many things that I want to do. In closing, I want to do a little thing for you. I get so many requests to do this on Ham Nation, and I know we don't have time to do these kind of things, so we're going to do it today. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take a little quick walkthrough. Now you got to understand, I've been working for 2 months, so it's kind of crazy around there. There's all the empty spaces. You probably saw Donna earlier at her station. She's just a princess, I tell you. She can fix anything. She's been with us for, I think, 26 years. She builds things, she fixes things, and she's amazing. And she's not a ham, doesn't want to be a ham. But these are just little quick views of what's going on and some of the production. And as I said, it's all quiet right now. So this is something I wanted to show you. I'm very proud of this. Stephen put this all together. Stephen's not a ham, but my God, is he a genius at some of this. This is how we test every microphone. Every headset is tested like this. This is amazing. What we do, we have on one of the other benches, we have a crown amplifier that feeds that JBL speaker. We just want to know there if it's working and how it sounds. But then underneath that shelf is every brand of radio. In other words, we're not looking for best, better, whatever. We're looking for differences in the input connectors and stuff. But they all get tested, every piece. So when you get something that's DOA, there's something going on. And we want to know what it is. But here are just some other quick walkthroughs of the place. There's the conference room, and that was one of our home theater rooms years ago when we were doing all of that. There's some of the things that didn't make it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, our museum. But some of the things that still there, still working. That's one of our this is a quad mixer. Nobody had built a quad mixer, and we built this one for consumer use. We also built the Mavis for the road, and there were thousands of these built. The HM1000. I still have guys that call this still using it, and of course our little wall of shame or whatever. But it goes on forever. Many warehouses and so on. But I just wanted to take you through a little quick look at Heil Sound, and we enjoy building things for you. We enjoy hearing from you, and I hope that we help you along the way, and I hope some of this helps you along the way. And I have one thing I want to do to close, because it's something else that everybody asks about, and that, my friend, is what's sitting right there. Did I make you seasick on that one? Let me get over there and adjust that camera. Oh, God. I didn't get into all of this. I've done it before. Many of you have heard it many times. But where I learned to do all this stuff, my hearing was so important. And it all come about because I was able to listen. And there's not very many people that listen. They hear, but they don't listen. They're not listening to the harmonics, all of those things that it takes to make things happen. And it's really kind of bugs me, because they're not teaching that. Why aren't they? So I'm going to fire up the big organ for a number, and when I end it, Ash is going to take over. And boy, we sure appreciate all of you watching today. Please excuse all of my novice camera work or whatever. Hey, it's the only way I can do this for you, but we're ham, aren't we? I mean, what the heck? I mean, we do stuff like this all the time. There's no textbook. It's not NBC, as I said. So here we go. As I said, I've been doing this since I was 15, 60 plus years, and we're still there. This is quite an instrument. It's 24 ranks, 3 manuals. So let's have some fun, and thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll catch you on the air.
Thanks, Bob, for those informative insights. And thank you again for joining us today for Heil Ham Day. I hope it's been fun and enjoyable for you. I want to remind you again that we're having a sale on our web store, heilhamradio.com/shop, and use the code Heil Ham Day. That's Heil Ham Day, one word, to receive 10% off your entire order. We have lots of great products on there, including autographed Heil Ham Radio handbooks signed by Bob that cover many of the things that Bob talked about in more detail. Also, we'll be running some special promos on particular products, so please visit heilhamradio.com/shop and use the code Heil Ham Day. Again, those links will be in the comments below, as well as the links that we talked about with Donna for the various informational pages. Thank you again for joining us. We very much appreciate you and your business. Thank you.